There we go.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to Hey Mando, a fan podcast about the Mandalorian on Disney Plus. I don't have a Star Wars shirt on, but instead I got the Mandalorian mask from the Disney store. Just got that this weekend.
We said last week, our video quality probably ain't great, our audio quality ain't great. How can we make it worse? And so Kyle went out and said, "This is what we're gonna do. This is what we're gonna do." I forgot to get Mando, so I apologize, Kyle.
Yes. It's okay. You can wear your Grogu mask next week.
Well, now that you're taking your Mando mask off, you're no longer in the Mandalorian Guild, right?
No, well, at least not a child of the Watch.
You're not a child of the
Watch. But as we saw this week, you can still be a true Mandalorian, which we'll get into. But I'm Kyle Souza. The other voice you hear is Ryan Ray, and you may be seeing it if you're watching it live on places like Periscope or the recording on YouTube, on the Outpost 23 YouTube channel, or on the audio-only version on the Hey Mando podcast, available wherever fine podcasts are given away for free.
Not bad podcast, not mediocre podcast. Fine podcast. I like that.
Fine podcast. Now, I would like to apologize for what I am about to do for everybody listening. Please have this on speaker, not on earbuds, because in line with terrible audio quality, I found something of mine this week from my childhood that I was very excited about, and it still works. And that is my Imperial Blaster. And so, would it be terrible if I shot this?
It might sound. We can't go worse, right?
Okay, so fair warning. I'm about to shoot an actual Imperial Blaster toy. Now, this is from back in the day, in the early 90s, when they made. Or let's see, it has a date on here, 1996, so mid 90s. Back when they made blasters that looked like they did in the movies sometimes. So
without the nice.
Yes, it's still got the orange.
Okay,
tip to it.
Well, so you don't kill nobody.
Yes. So they know that this is not a real gun.
Right.
It's a blaster rifle, Imperial Blaster rifle, and it is your standard black and white for everyone who can't see. With some gray, it has some distressing on it. That was part of the workmanship of it, and then also some things have rusted and whatnot because it's now, 24 years old. It's a 24-year-old toy, and I don't let my kids play with it. So that's how good it sounds. It actually makes 3 different blaster sounds. All right. So enough torture with that for everybody listening. I tried to give you fair warning.
Well, we should say before we continue, spoiler alert.
Spoiler
for anything alert. In the Star Wars universe, spoiler alert edition. If you haven't seen episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, Rebels, Clone Wars, comics, expanded universe, Mandalorian, Han Solo, the Rebellion one. Help me out, Kyle.
No.
Rebellion's built on hope. Yeah.
You're close. You're close. I can taste it.
Jen Erso.
No, that's the one. That's the one.
I can see.
You can see the poster, can't you?
What's it called? Oh, gosh. We're going to reveal the name of that movie on this podcast.
Okay. It's Rogue One. It's
Rogue One.
But I do that all the time. I can never remember the name of Rogue One also.
Rogue One. Okay,
this is why we're able to get along and our friendship is able to flourish, even though we disagreed on the last episode so heartily.
Yes. Well, so anyways, so spoilers for that or anything in life in general. This is a spoiler podcast. Now, we're not going to go into we haven't downloaded. I mean, we have access to Disney's hard drives. We haven't downloaded the data for this week's episode, so we don't know what's coming. But
right,
if it's been released publicly, we will talk about it.
So I was talking with a guy at work, and I told him, I was doing a voice to text to you actually, where I said Grogu's name, and the first time I said it, it spelled it correctly, and then the second time I said it, it spelled it incorrectly, and the third time I said it, it spelled it a different incorrect way. And I told that to a couple people at work, and one of them was like, I bet that they have some people who watch the show and they've already started putting the correct spelling into the voice to text, but it's just not perfected yet. So
I don't use voice
maybe.
text, so it will be a problem that I will not encounter.
Yeah.
I still live in
Okay.
the 80s, basically.
Hey, I play with toys from the 90s. So
there we
I was
go.
made in the 80s.
So you mentioned we argued last week. Did you like this week's episode, Kyle?
I did like this week's episode. It was good. I have lots of questions, though. Lots of questions.
It's unlikely that I will be able to answer them. I thought this episode was fantastic. I've listened to a couple other podcasts about Star Wars, heard some of their complaints or criticisms. People liked it, I think, but some of the questions they have. So I'm curious to see you and the council of other larger nerds. Me, I'm like on the outer rim. I'm like Anakin Skywalker. I'm not. I might be on the council, but I'm not a Jedi master, right? Like in the room, listen to the conversations, but I'm not really one of the crew. And so I'm not sure I can really appease your needs. But go ahead. Let's see what you got.
Okay.
Your show. Where do you want to start at? Here we're gonna do. Watch this. Take it away, Kyle.
So to start with, I have 2 complaints. Okay.
Only 2?
Well, to start with.
I'm sorry.
Tython was incredibly easy to find, and then the temple on Tython was incredibly easy to find. I wanted this to be harder for him. I was looking for more of a journey episode. I'm okay with what we got. I'm not complaining from that perspective, but the Jedi left Tython, and you see other times when Jedi are searching for old Jedi temples, and it's not just like, oh, it's on this planet that everybody knows about, even though nobody lives there. And it's going to be on the first mountain you see when you get there. So that seemed it was a little too convenient. I'm
trying to pull up a map here of Star Wars universe to see if I can find Tython real quick. This is lovely.
Okay, so
lovely
that you're gonna have a problem with that, because up until this moment in time, Tython was a core world. It was in the deep core, and based on Fennec's comments, one would believe that Tython is located in the Outer Rim. So based on the grid used in the Star Wars Atlas, which is no longer canon, I think it was grid L10 or L14, somewhere around there. But it was considered a deep core world, or at least a core world, if not deep core world.
L10. Okay, I'm listening. Go ahead.
Yeah, but so it was a core world, but now it's considered an Outer Rim world.
Yeah. Okay. So, can I pull this up? Yeah, I can pull this up. Let's see here. Let me pull this up. So
Ryan's going to pull a map up. He's going to share it on the screen.
This is again lovely podcasting.
Yes.
This should be part of the live stream. Okay, can you see that, Kyle?
I can see that. For everyone who can't see it, it is a circle with swirls around it and text that is too small to read.
Yeah,
you're not missing much at this point.
Yeah, to your point though, you can see here the core, as you mentioned, and then go in here to I messed it up.
Oh yeah, single click. It's an image viewer, so you got one zoom.
Yeah, I only get one shot this thing. Anyways, there's right there.
It shows
galaxy
Tython in the core, but outside the deep core.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then for perspective, the Outer Rim would be this region. That's
where you get Tatooine and all sorts of stuff. And so, in traditional Star Wars cartography, you have the core, you have the inner rim, the expansion region, the mid rim, the outer rim, and most of the galaxy is situated what we would think of as east. Okay, so it's from the core, north and south, and then east, and not too much out west. A lot of that gets labeled as the unknown regions. And then also there's the great hyperspace barrier out to the side that prevents travel. That's where in the expanded universe you get the no, I'm butchering this, but the Yuzong Vu, and then they're able to cross that. It is also possible that the Chiss come from beyond the hyperspace barrier and Thrawn is a Chiss, for example. So there are people that can travel across that, but for the most part, what we know of in the Republic and Empire, they have been unable to go.
And so is Tython on this map? And I just put it for the folks on. Let's see here. I'll put it out for the folks who are following along live. But for
yeah, and I'll get that link and I'll share it in the show notes as well.
Is the Tython? This is from Collider. It won't let me put it on Periscope. Anyways, is this from the expanded universe bringing it in and saying, well, this is where it was in the EU, so therefore this is where it belongs to the map, and then now the canon is saying no, and canon is actually here? Or do you think this contradicts with the previous canonical statement?
No, so I think that where it is on the map that you showed there in the core is what we see in the expanded universe.
Okay.
And the only thing that I'm saying contradicts that is what Fennec said. So Fennec said, so Boba is flying a ship. He says, they're back. Fennec's like, who? He's like, the Empire. And she's like, the Outer Rim belongs to the New Republic, which based on just context would make you think that they are in the Outer Rim.
Right, but what I'm saying is that when she says that, it would actually have more credence than this map would if the map is based upon the EU.
Correct.
Yeah, that's
I think that now they have moved Tython to the Outer Rim as opposed to the core.
Okay. So what I'm saying is it hasn't actually been moved. It has never been placed. The map was trying to figure out where Disney canon might put it at.
Right, and there is one other canon source, one other canonical source that I know of that mentions Tython, and I don't remember it mentioning where exactly it was, and that is a Dr. Aphra comic book where she takes Vader there as a diversion from Hoth Base, I believe, as the storyline. So I will have to look more into that to see exactly if she says where it is.
And just for perspective, if it is in the Outer Rim, which is where Tatooine is, then it's a hop, skip, and jump away.
Potentially. I mean, the Outer Rim
is
a big circle, or at least half circle. So
it's a rim.
It could both be in the...
It's the Outer Rim.
Yeah.
I concede.
Yeah. No, it's like being like, oh, I would go up to Washington State to see my mom for the summer, and people are like, oh, you live in Texas, down in Houston? Mm-hmm. I know someone who lives in Dallas. Their name is John Jones. Do you know them? I'm like, yeah, we go ride horses together.
Yes.
No, they're 5 hours away, and we're inside the same state, and people just can't grasp that. So, anywho, it's you could be in the Outer Rim, but be further apart than two systems that are in the Inner Rim and the Mid Rim.
Where it's placed on the new map, it'd be kind of hard to tell how long the journey was. One thing to think about is, we don't know where Moff Gideon is from the last time we saw Moff, he was on Navarro, right?
No. Last time we saw him was on a ship.
I'm gonna say last time we saw him in a location was that we could pinpoint was on Navarro, right?
Yes,
he's been on a ship, and so it's kind of hard to know where he is or where he's been. And so one of the things that might have happened in this episode is that the trip from Tatooine to where'd they go? Rogue One, Typhon, might have been enough time for Moff Gideon to catch up to him. So, but you were mentioning about the temple being underwhelming. I thought about it didn't bother me because my understanding was this was kind of an original, old school, like pre-Yoda is even thought of type place. And so, if this is kind of a foundational location, then you might expect it to be a little bit less extravagant.
I definitely would expect it to be less extravagant. I would expect it not to be a settled planet. If there are any settlements or any sentient beings there, they're pretty savage based on what we have from the expanded universe, at least. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it just all seemed really convenient. And as soon as, he found Tython really easily. How easy was it to find Luke on Ahch-To, right? Which is kind of the same, ancient Jedi planet. But that part of the map was missing from this star chart, right? That we saw. And
I'm assuming they have some technology on the ship that allows them to scan and search and they type in where.
I'm sure he pulled up his Google Maps.
Yes, exactly.
And
went to Street View,
found Tython.
Right?
But I don't know. I don't know. It just seemed a little too easy. That's all there.
Okay, so let me. I did a video on this on Outpost 23 that day, and I said that there was a leak that was saying that this was going to be the shortest episode of the series, and so that led me to believe when they had that whatever was going to happen was going to be quick and in a hurry. And so either A, they're going to get there and get to the planet, and then it would kind of unfold, or B, they were get detained or derailed immediately, and you knew that at best you might get there to the end of it. So kind of having that little nugget going into it, I'm not surprised that it escalated the way that it did because the runtime was cut down. And so you mentioned last week we might have a what'd you call it, a closet or a standing still, or you had some
bottle episode.
Bottle episode. I don't know if that's what qualifies your bottle episode or not, but I did hear about the runtime, and that kind of led me to believe, okay, short runtime, you can't really send Mando on a 6-hour journey to slay stormtroopers. All those stormtroopers did get slayed. I'm sure we'll talk about that. But but anyways, so going into it with knowing that, I'm not surprised it played out as quickly as it did because I felt like they really wanted to get to it because they had short runtime. So what was your other complaint?
Oh no, those were the two. That Tython was too easy to find, and that the temple on the planet was too easy to find.
Well, but you didn't have a problem with the temple being kind of simplistic, though.
Oh no, I had no problem with that.
What did you think about the kind of the? I thought it was almost like a throwback. You'll probably have some Star Wars reference, but it reminded me of like the Lord of the Rings with the writing around the stone on the ring. Is that kind of what you thought about when Mando put his helmet on? Or I say put his helmet on. He turned his helmet on, his visor or whatever, his scanning technology, and you can see he's not really paying attention to it, but there's like this encryption around the stone. You're like, okay, here we go. I thought that was a nice touch. It had an ancient feel to it, at least.
It did. It did have an ancient feel to it. Yeah, it is very high fantasy, which sci-fi is just fantasy with electricity, and so it does have that throwback feel to it. It did very much feel like what we got to see in other Jedi temples, though. So we do see some other Jedi temples in Rebels and in other places, and it did very much have that feel to it, even though it was very much more an open concept temple. No, the ruins were a bit open air, but it was good. I thought it was good. I thought the layout of the temple itself was cool.
Yeah, I liked the simplicity of it. It wasn't like you had to go through 6 missions to get there. Like you got there, and there it was. The Google Street View helped out, of course, but maybe.
Which you would think with an ancient temple like that there's a point where we're expecting Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Some. But before that, people would have just built the temple. Like to get to Stonehenge, you don't have to pass through the 3 challenges. It's just there. And then later in time, people were like, oh, we should make our special places hard to get to.
Yeah, because when Indiana comes along, we don't want him to steal the stuff easily.
Right.
Exactly.
So, but once he gets there, Grogu sits on a seeing stone. We get an awesome force shield, force field. I'm not exactly what to call that.
Hold on, before you go there, what did you think of the butterflies?
The butterflies. So I thought he wants to eat those butterflies. Second, I was like, is that a monarch butterfly? No, I forget the name of the blue butterflies are. But I know that there was something
somewhere.
There's something to do with, and I haven't read it, but I've heard about it. I believe it's a little comic story that has to do with Kylo Ren and Chewbacca and Han Solo and some special butterflies.
Yeah, I had heard there's some kind of Vader connection on some comic book, but I haven't read it either, so I didn't know if you. It was they stood out, and so I don't know what symbolism if other than he's just a child and he's playing with butterflies, but
I don't think he was playing. I think he was licking his lips.
He can't find no frog eggs.
That's right. He's like, let me get some of them butterflies. I've been eating MREs for the last 2 weeks.
Real quick. What did you think about the way they kind of go back to the episode real quick? I thought they did a good job of making sure the name stuck. So, Mando, Grogu. Grogu. I thought they did a good job.
It was cute.
Just because the name was awkward for everyone, and it's as if they anticipated that, and so they made it a point to kind of emphasize it. And then the other thing that I thought they did was they did a good job of early on is emphasizing that Ahsoka was right, is that not only does the child Grogu look to Mando as a father figure, he definitely looks at the child as a son-like figure. And so I thought the opening scene did a good job of kind of making sure if there's any doubt about any of that, the name or the feelings or the emotions, like that's locked up pretty good.
I think so too. I think that they listened to our last episode or watched it and said, "Oh, they talked about how cute it was and great that Grogu like responded audibly when Mando said his name." And then they played off of that for a little bit. So I just want to thank Dave Filoni for
since
putting that
I
in there.
brought the slow burn complaints out, we have not had a slow burn. Just want to say that.
This is true.
Whatever you think about it,
on that
slow burn is gone.
Yeah, I don't think it's gone. I think it's on break.
Well, it's gone for now. Kyle, I'm just saying, I single-handedly got rid of the slow burn. Just give me a little prop here, okay?
Everybody, round of applause.
Yes.
For no, thank you. I will say thank you. Because the last couple episodes have been exciting. Even if I didn't love the last one, it was still exciting.
Okay. So, anyways, I'm sorry. You were okay.
Yeah. Speaking of not being a slow burn, Mando is telling the kid to hurry up, right? So, let me rewind. We see Slave 1 come, and I'm like, yes, this is awesome. This is great. Just because it's Boba Fett. This is cool. And then Mando's trying to get the kid, as he keeps calling him, to drop the force shields going on. And I'm like, why not say his name? Why not be like, hey, Grogu, let's go? Because the kid responds to that. But he doesn't. He just keeps calling him the kid. And he's telling him to hurry up. How long did Mando think this was going to take in the first place? How long did Dan think this was going to take?
Well, okay, so, he called Ahsoka the nice lady. And he called her lightsaber laser sword, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I think you're dealing with someone who, like we've talked about before, he has no concept of this world he's dealing with. And so for him, the fact that he went and put one of the things that I thought about might happen was we might have seen Mando go and talk to someone about advice because he doesn't know anything about the Jedi. Like, hey, I'm about to go do this. Should I do it? Why should I do it? And so, I thought that might have been a possibility that he went to, Navarro or someone and just asked for like advice. And we had a stupid side mission about that, but he didn't. And so I think you have to keep in mind that he doesn't, he doesn't know the kid uses the Force. He doesn't even understand what that means. He has the powers and he can do this stuff. And so, for him, he's hooking up the Cat 5 to the back of his head and going into the Matrix. And he's like, hey, here you go. So I think that in the Mando's mind, we know more about the world that the Mando exists in than the Mandalorian does. And that's kind of awkward for the viewer.
Well, it is, but I'm just like, I would think, because Ahsoka says that he may reach out and somebody may contact him back. He may not understand the Force, but he does understand traveling across distances in the galaxy. And so I would think...
But hold on real quick. I don't say. Let me interject this. He just witnessed two people talk with their heads.
Okay, fair enough.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think he understands any of this. He's just doing it, and it's like, put the kid on the seeing stone, and the kid's going to see something, and someone's going to talk from the heavens. I think for him, anything's possible. He has no concept of what is going to happen. Maybe a big screen pulls up like the Matrix. I really think from his perspective, that's what I'm saying. I think we know more about what he should expect than what he does.
He did suggest that the Rock had an on switch.
Yes,
so
exactly.
I feel you there. Okay. I can back off of that.
Yeah.
I see.
I don't say I'm right. I just like that's kind of my perspective. Is he's like, hurry up, kid.
And this isn't a complaint on my part. It's just questions like how I would think that it was like I see it kind of like sending up a smoke signal. Like, hey, I'm over here. Yeah. And then eventually somebody would come or would send a message back, but I wouldn't expect it to be instantaneous. But this is a brand new world to Din. So
yeah, so let me just ask you. Yeah, so from your perspective, aside from the question you brought up there, when Grogu is on the Seeing Stone, is it like Doctor X and the X-Men, and he's out there talking to people, and he can hear things back, and so like Mace or Luke or whoever it is that's going to come, if anyone comes, they're like, "Yeah, I'm coming," and then Grogu knows, or is it like the bat signals up, and they all look into the sky like, oh, God, okay, like what's going on there? When the force shields up and all that, is it one of those two options, the third option? Because I don't even know what to expect when he gets on the stone.
It could be either or a third option, and I think it depends on both players. So Grogu here is sending a message. Now, is Grogu open to receiving a message? Is whoever receives Grogu's message going to respond to that message? So we see, like in Rebels, where Ezra Bridger does something similar inside of a different Jedi temple, and he reaches out in the Force, and Master Yoda responds. But that doesn't necessarily mean that Yoda's the only person who could feel that message that got broadcast. So Grogu broadcast a message. Whether he was receiving a message, we don't know. I would hope so, that he was looking to receive something. But whoever received the message may have just felt it, or they may have tried communicating back if they were also at the level capable of doing that too. So there's that. So it could be either of the things you suggested or that third option, and we just don't know yet. We don't know. I think we'll find out in the last episode of this season.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So just to recap, the third option is just kind of it's a combination of the two. It's just saying that Grogu sent out the bat signal. Mace Windu, just to pick a name, heard it, but he wasn't sure if he wanted to respond or not because he sent him back. Right. Grogu wasn't sure. Having Grogu not talking and falling asleep after he uses the Force, we talked about this a little bit this week on the phone. It's playing out so perfectly because you have no expectation of hearing anything from Grogu, and so you're not disappointed when they don't have to set up where it's like, Mandalorian, what did he tell you? And then someone takes him away. Like, he's not going to say anything. You just know he's just going to sit there. He's going to fall asleep and go wake up. He's going to coo. So I've really grown to appreciate that aspect of his character.
Yeah, the most you're going to hear, the most you could hear is some disembodied voice trying to talk to him. But then you get into whose perspective is the story from, and would they even do that? And I don't think they would do a reveal like that at this time.
But I'm saying, like, yeah, agreed. But when he got through with the Seeing Stone, there was no expectation that Grogu was like, "Hey, listen, Mace is coming, Luke's coming. We're getting the band back together. We're gonna take down the Empire." Like, what you got, even if the Dark Troopers didn't take him away, he wasn't gonna say anything. Like he's like Goldberg back in the early days when he was wrestling. He just came out, kicked butt, took names, and didn't say anything. Like that's what Grogu is.
No, his two biggest subtitles are coos and babbles.
Yes.
Like when you watch it with subtitles, it's just like Grogu babbles, the child coos.
Yes.
And you're just like, okay. So we've got that. So we got to see Boba Fett. You ready to talk about Boba Fett?
Can I ask one more question about the Force Shield?
Oh, you can ask all the questions about the Force Shield. I have 0 answers. Let's go.
Great. That makes me feel better. When the Force Shield went up, initially, it felt like Mando could get pretty close to it. As it went along, it became harder for him to approach the Force Shield. Should we infer that Grogu was, tapping into something important there? The longer it goes, is there any meaning there?
I think that there is meaning there. I think that both those could be true. I think that it's kind of like pedaling a bike, right? When you first start out, you're going slower, and then you get going, and then it becomes harder to stop the longer you've been going until it reaches a point where you're past the pinnacle, and now you're starting to slow down. And so near the end, it would have been easier. Like we see in his last attempt, he gets pretty close, but also there is the fact that Tython is supposed to be a planet that is very kind of strong with the Force, or there's a lot of essence of the Force on Tython, and so he may have been bolstered or reinforced by quote unquote natural elements there on Tython after having started up the Seeing Stone.
Okay, yeah. So that was all my questions about the Force shield.
Yeah, there is a bit of mysticism and a lot of magical elements to Star Wars that we don't get to see very much in the movies. But when you read the books and you see the comics, everything, there's amulets, there's charms, there's symbols, there's all these different things, and it has a lot more in common with what we would think of as like mysticism than with the Force, which is not very clearly defined at all at any point, but it doesn't seem to be controlled by objects, even though there are crystals inside of the laser swords. So it's pretty new age.
Exactly. So, anyways, sorry, didn't mean to get distracted on that.
Oh, no need to apologize. That was great. So Boba Fett. Okay, we see Boba Fett here, and got lots of questions. First off, Boba Fett has aged a lot in the last 9 years since
Something
we saw him.
about a Sarlacc.
That could be it. That could be it. But he's also put on a few pounds. Now, I've put on a few pounds in the last 9 months, so I won't begrudge the guy putting on some pounds over the last 9 years. But it really shows when he's in one of the shots where he's got his chest plate on, and you're like, that does not fit like it did in Return of the Jedi. But I don't want to just rag him about that. It was great seeing him there.
Man, but trying to make his way around the galaxy, Kyle. Let him be.
Just a man. That's right. But I do have some questions. Boba Fett was on the same planet as Cobb Vanth.
Yes.
For nearly a decade.
It seems.
How did he not get it back himself? He was able to maintain his ship the whole time.
Obviously.
He has standard sand people weaponry. He has a hunting rifle. He has his gaffy stick. How did he not go get this armor, his armor, from Cobb Vanth? How did it get taken from him? I had in my head made it apparently an improper assumption, or maybe the right assumption. He just regretted it later. I thought he got out of the Sarlacc pit and he was like, I need to disappear, and he sold it or traded it to the Jawas himself. Now it would seem that he got out of the Sarlacc pit, the Jawas found him, stripped him of his armor, and then left him for dead in the desert. Seems closer to the narrative that we're hearing now, because he says, yes, Fennec was left for dead just like I was, or something along those lines.
Yeah, it could be that the Marshal, the Timothy Oliphant character, I can't remember his name, you just said it, but he could have just lied too about how he got it. So Boba could have given it to him for some reason, and then Boba sees this guy come and take it, and it's like, okay, well, hold on. The deal was, this cat can have it. I'll sit out here and do my thing. And then it's like, well, okay, now that you've taken it, I've got to come back and get it. It's mine. Like, you just can't come and take it from this guy.
That's true. That's true. I would think, though, that if that had been the story, that Cobb Vanth would have not wanted to give it up, because Boba Fett was at least infamous, if not famous. And Tatooine was Jabba the Hutt's home base.
Right.
And Boba Fett was a favorite there. Also, it did, seeing him again, remind me of something that I'd forgotten about. Mando could have even known the name Boba Fett, because as far as I know in canon, Boba Fett was the first person to freeze somebody in carbonite when he did that to Han Solo. And that Han Solo's freezing in carbonite was a test to see if Vader could freeze Luke in carbonite, and that was what that whole setup was about. And they weren't even sure if Han was going to live through it or not. And now we see Mando with a half dozen people in carbonite on the first episode. And so he may have even known Fett's name. If not, we're going to need a little bit more explanation on this whole carbonite thing and why it was such a big deal in Empire Strikes Back that he did get Han in carbonite.
Yeah. So, are you drawing that from the movie, or are you drawing that from a book or something?
I'm drawing it from the movie mostly. It may be informed by some stuff outside of the movie, but
I know that.
I think it's supportable by the movie.
No, there's definitely some concern there when it happens, but I just kind of took that to be that, like, hey, you're getting ready to do this thing, it better work. I didn't take it to be the first one ever, but I'm not saying you're wrong. You could very easily be right. I've never thought about that, so that's interesting. But the other thing is, to your point about knowing who Boba Fett is, I think one of the things is, again, I'm not sure the legends in Star Wars are the legends inside the galaxy like they are for us. And so, for us, this is it's a fictional world that we're nerds enough to talk about. Okay, so but inside the
you take that back right now.
I'm sorry, it's real to me. But inside this fictional world, it doesn't seem it's a big place. It's a galaxy. It doesn't seem that names and places and things necessarily carry the same significance for those characters. So let me give you an example. The opposite side of the coin. In episode 7, Snoke, everyone knew who Snoke was. It wasn't a mysterious figure, except for us. We didn't know who Snoke was. But Han knew who Snoke was. They all knew who Snoke was. Like, it wasn't like, they're like, oh, who's the shadowy? Like, no, it's Snoke. Okay, it's Snoke. You're like, okay, yeah, Snoke. So whatever they thought he was or wasn't, or what, but they knew he was the head dog. But we go to episode 4 or 5, or episode 4, the Jedi, the ancient religion, like, so things inside the galaxy don't function like they do outside the galaxy. I think that's always hard to bring to this, because you're not sure what the characters are supposed to know. And it's a galaxy, it's not a planet, for what that's worth.
This is true. There are a lot more people. It would be harder for somebody's name to be known. But if a Mandalorian does things, and Mandalorians are in short supply, then and I would just think that some information about Mandalorians have made its way through. But also, Din was raised by a subset
That's what I was bringing up. Exactly.
of Mandalorians.
That's exactly what I was bringing up.
He didn't know Bo-Katan, who is generally, the title, the chapter was subtitled The Heiress, right? Her sister was the leader of Mandalore at the time. And also, Fett was from Concord Dawn, whatever.
Yeah. So the other thing is, I was about to bring that up, and I think that's an excellent point. I saw some people talking about Jango Fett and Boba, that they're not really Mandalorians.
That's BS. So that comes from.
Tell me how you really feel.
So I've been annoyed about that since, what was it, the second or third season of Clone Wars. So it's been a minute that I've been annoyed by this. That all comes from one line, right, that a guy says to Obi-Wan when he goes to Mandalore to help. What was her name? Began with an S. The girl he had a thing for.
Mm-hmm. I can't remember. Yeah, I know you're talking about.
Yeah, the only name I can think of is Sabine, but that's a different Mandalorian. But so her prime minister or whatever, I forget his name. But he says, "Oh, that guy's a disgrace to me. He's not a true Mandalorian." Okay, that guy was secretly the leader of Death Watch. So why are you trusting him?
Yeah,
it's not like he's the most credible witness to who's a true Mandalorian and who's not.
Mm-hmm.
And so either Jango Fett was part of Death Watch and then left, and so this guy just didn't like him, so he's not a true Mandalorian, or he was never part of Death Watch, and Death Watch is like, no, we're the only true Mandalorians.
Well,
it's just like any religious group in our world, where you will have some that are like, no, we're the real version. All you other ones are posers.
Right. I think that's an excellent point, because if you were to look at where Qui-Gon Jinn was at his death, and where he probably would have gone 10 to 15 years if he would have continued to live, his version of what the Jedi and Jedi Council and all that stuff would not have aligned with how we saw episodes 2 and 3 play out, right? So if he would have lived through the rest of the prequels, by the end, he very likely would be on the outside looking in. But
just like Ahsoka ended her storyline originally, right?
Right. Yes, but he probably would have considered himself the true Jedi or a version of the Jedi.
Yeah.
He probably wouldn't have said, "I'm not a Jedi." He'd go, "I'm just in tune better." So, when you go to and this is one of the things I've always appreciated about Star Wars. It feels like it can take real world concepts, which is complexity, and bring it into the galaxy, the Star Wars universe. Whereas but when we talk about it, we would be very rigid. It's got to be this plus this plus this. Well, that's not how life works, as you pointed out. It's not how religion on Earth works, or groups or factions on Earth. Name a group that you would say is a monolithic movement. To do that, they'd be a very small group of people, right? So the Catholic Church, the Republican Party, Democrats, socialists, progressive, capitalists, libertarians, engineers, any group, they have a litany of beliefs, and so and objectives in the center. So I think that's a very, very accurate point. I just didn't know if there was something else that they were drawing from, because I haven't heard anybody really point to anything other than he wasn't a foundling. The foundling seemed to be an issue, and I didn't. I'm not brushed up on my foundling history, so.
Well, so a Reddit user did translate the Arabic for us. I hadn't gotten around to it, but Boba Fett does show his chain code, basically the log of the armor's ownership, and it does show in there a certain name, who, based on one of the Expanded Universe comics, is the man who found and adopted Jango Fett. Now, this is at odds with a different Expanded Universe storyline, which is part of why they got rid of the Expanded Universe, because there is also the Expanded Universe storyline where Clan Fett is a very important clan for at least a time in the Mandalorian world.
But all that non-canon to it doesn't really. It's not relevant.
Right. So
it doesn't. There's no major conflict that you're aware of, though, in the canon that you would say that there's no reason for people to be upset about this.
No, but based on the storyline, the Expanded Universe storyline that they did reference, Jango Fett very well could be a foundling himself. So Jango Fett's a foundling, and then cloning became illegal. Well, again, EU. Cloning not smiled upon generally, and so the fact that Boba Fett was a clone would have had to have been hidden, or at least obscured. He would not have been, people wouldn't have enjoyed the fact that he was a clone. So he referred to Jango Fett as father. He saw him as his dad, not as his
clone
DNA donor.
Right.
And we don't even know for sure if in canon Boba Fett. Now, I think Boba Fett knows that he's a clone, but we that's not 100% confirmed in canon that Boba Fett knows that I can remember. I am fallible. I am a human being.
I just watched a few weeks ago some of those. Yeah, I think he had. So if you go back to Clone Wars, I just watched some of these episodes where he goes and tries to kill Mace Windu, and he's with the other clones, and they're asking him, why are you not, your hair not shaved and stuff like that. So maybe he doesn't know, but I would think that he does.
Yeah, I think that he does. I just think it hasn't been explicitly stated, but things don't necessarily have to be explicitly stated.
Yeah. Anyways, so Boba Fett lands. That's where we were before we went on the farm.
Yeah, Boba Fett lands. Mando is a slow learner with trying this force field. It took him getting thrown a couple times before he was like, okay, that's fine. Now, I would have tried shooting at it, like not near Grogu, but maybe up a little bit or to the side, and just being like, what happens if I shoot this thing? Does it bounce back? And be like, maybe he's fully protected. It's like saying, like, I'm going to protect this. Let's see. Who's a important fighter? Mike Tyson? That'd be like me being Mike Tyson's bodyguard. It's not necessary. For those who are not seeing me, I am you're not 200 pounds, no muscle.
Yeah.
220 pounds, no muscle.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Yeah.
But if you when Boba Fett and Home Slice Rennick land, he gets nervous when she's going to shoot the weapon at the child. So maybe
he does.
That doing that is going to blow it up.
Yeah, because he doesn't know. I'm just saying, I would have been tempted to just be like, how strong is this thing? Pew pew up into the sky at it, and just see, like, does the blaster go through or not? Because, as I've mentioned before, blaster fire in Star Wars universe has a physical component to it. We see it as light, but it's not just like a laser shot. It's not like a Star Trek phaser. It is energized gas that has been compressed. So it has a physical component to it. And so if his force shield is blocking physical components, then it very well could divert blaster fire.
I think he thought it was going to blow it up or something, though.
It could also have really screwed it up.
Yeah,
I'm just saying I would have been tempted. I'm not sure if I would have shot it, but I would have been tempted.
See, I would have been the opposite way. I wouldn't have shot it. And then when when Bubba was like, hey, she's got the rifle, I'm like, listen, bro, if you want to go shoot the Star-Lord wizard on top of the mountain with the blue thing, go ahead. Go ahead. But there's a bunch of Jedi coming and wizards. And like, I'm just telling you right now, if you want to shoot it, it's going to get bad. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to sit back, eat some popcorn, and watch these people with lights, with what's it called? Lights, laser swords come and cut your heads off. Yep. Oh,
too soon. My grandma called them.
Too soon, Boba Fett, for the head cutting off. Right? Too soon. Right. I'm just saying. So, but alas, neither one of us had the personality.
Explicitly telling Boba now, Din would not know this, but explicitly telling Boba Fett he's a Jedi or that Jedi are coming would have made Boba Fett hate the child, right? From everything we know.
Obviously,
he was very mad at me.
Yes, it would have made him very mad. I agree, but if you told him a gaggle of Jedi are on their way, he might have been like, okay,
Yeah, I may not like them, but too many of them is too much.
When he dropped the father before me line, that might have, I got to get out of here before my head gets cut off, like my father before me. Like he could have used it. He could have used it again. I need to go. So, what did you think about saving the girl? Not about Boba saving her, but like bringing her back.
Okay, so I have a thought on that. Before I get to that,
yeah, go
ahead. Boba says that he tells Din to take his jetpack off, right? And for everybody listening at home, I motioned a one-handed jetpack removal with my hand.
Mm-hmm. That was awesome.
Added nothing to the story. Nothing. But is it because he didn't want him to flee? Is it because he didn't want him to have the high ground? He didn't want him to have a height advantage if they got into a fight? Was he afraid of the rocket? I'm just like, why did he have to take his jetpack off? I'd be like, when you put the gun down. But again, as a Mandalorian, knowing Mandalorians, you might know that jetpack is more dangerous than that blaster. So I just thought that was an interesting thing. Yes, he got Fennec. I'm wondering how much of Fennec was replaced. Was it just some intestinal stuff? She's human, right? She's human. Is it her whole bottom half? I don't think so. I think it's just some midsection that got replaced with mechanics. Though in Star Wars, you can get basically everything
cut in half
from your heart down replaced and still be you.
So obviously, this is one of the problems that I have with the episode was that this plot point was only used to prevent the Mandalorian from saving Baby Yoda later on. And it doesn't really fit into it. Doesn't, because when he does his little wrist deal, he's about to fire like 700 rockets and kill him. So,
the whistlers,
and he does it later on in the episode without the jetpack on. Because I thought maybe the jetpack had some connection, but he does it later on in the episode, so the jetpack has no connection to that. So
it has no connection. We also saw in a prior episode how the jetpack can be controlled from his wrist controller. Right. So he could have called the jetpack to him at any point and been like, okay, let's go. Also, when I see another ship landing, I would have been like, all right, guys, let's finish this conversation in a minute. As soon as Boba Fett took off, I would have grabbed my jetpack and put it back on. Or after waking up from the second time getting thrown away, I would have gone back and gotten my jetpack and think like, I might need this.
I can halfway forgive him running away with it. I didn't. They didn't do a good enough job to convince me that he needed to take it off. That was the problem. Like like you're saying, like there are some plausible scenarios, but it didn't really land. Like, okay, why is he going to? Because you knew we took it off. Okay, here we go. This is going to be a problem later on. If Fennec would have said she had some kind of rocket launcher and she was going to blow up the jetpack, with the, but it's made of Beskar. Like, I don't know. Like, that's the problem when you have the stuff that you can't blow up. It's like you had, so, yeah, maybe he was afraid he's going to shoot the ship. I don't know. Like, that they needed like one extra line in there just to like, well, you could blow my ship up from here, that thing, take it off, or something like that. Like, just one line, just enough to kind of go, oh, okay, well, that I can buy that. And in Boba's mind, like you say, all these things to be going through, but that was that was the only really complaint I can think of that I had of the episode. I didn't understand. I didn't feel like they gave us enough for that.
I concur.
We in now? Is that it? We called a wrap? We concurred?
No, we can't end on a high note like that. So we got to see some classic stormtroopers, though, right? These were not the grimy guys on Navarro that we saw in episode 1 that were all sketchy, where you're like, are these guys even stormtroopers? There's a lot of dirt on that armor.
Yeah.
And then, they were definitely kind of the rabble of the bunch that we saw with the client in those first couple episodes. But we got to see some, gleaming white. They have a commander with them who's got the shoulder thing going on. They can't hit anything
more than the orange badge on the shoulder.
Right? He shoots everybody around him, but never shoots the guy with the target, who's clearly in control.
Yeah. Hey, go.
No, it was also classic stormtrooper that it's like, go up there, and then he gets shot. He's like, okay, now you go up there.
Yes.
And all of you go up there. Go to the place where that guy just died from.
They can't.
But, yeah, and they can't shoot for nothing, right? Like, they even have a medium repeating blaster cannon like they did on Hoth, and they're still missing her.
Well, the mortar shot was like 3 feet too short.
Well, the first one was too long, and the second one was too short, and that became their undoing. And they did
just 3 feet. Otherwise, they nailed it.
Yeah. Also, so when I was young, somebody told me alligators can't run diagonally, which is the stupidest thing ever. That think that alligators can only do like 90-degree turns.
Yeah, they're like a F-250 with a gooseneck, real wide turns.
Yes. So, but every time you see somebody running from a rolling boulder in a movie or a TV show, they don't turn left or right. They try to outrun this thing, and that very rarely works. Like, just pretend it's an alligator and that you're 7-year-old Kyle, and go left, and then because the boulder really can't turn like that. It really can't. So, but it was fun. That was a fun scene. And yeah, I guess it was an artillery trooper. I'm not 100% sure on the yellow armor and the meaning of that. As you know, different troopers have different armors. But I'm thinking we would call him an artillery trooper, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, real quick, Kyle, we have a comment from a listener, Roselworth2293. Want to be famous? Buy followers, primes, and viewers on, and the link is there, bigfollows.com. So if you want to...
Well, that's just mean. We shouldn't have to buy people.
All right. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I interrupted you.
No. I was just trying to tell people how to be famous.
How to be famous?
Yeah. Yes. So let me just say this.
Listens to this.
Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, they have a disdain for stormtroopers that they are expressing visually through The Mandalorian that I, for one, really appreciate. Okay, if you go back to the episode when they're in the mountain on Navarro and those guys coming off the cliff and how they're like rolling down and dying, and this when they get rolled over by a rock, and then Boba Fett absolutely smashing their helmets. Thank you, sir. Like, I'm appreciating that because these are terrible human beings and they're getting terrible deaths, and so it's an artistic take on the death of the stormtrooper we haven't really gotten before. I guess you probably have some bad deaths sprinkled in there, but these are brutal deaths in The Mandalorian. Now it's a more edgy show, if you will, but the deaths in this
doesn't go too far. Like you mentioned Boba Fett, whacking the guys across the helmet, and you see pieces of helmet shatter and fly, but
Great
you
shot.
don't see any messed up faces. Like the shots are still, I don't know, tasteful. What would you call that?
Well, they're PG.
Yes, I mean, well, it's a TV-14 show,
Okay,
so I
TV-14.
would think they would still be able to show, because I mean that's still a rating where they could show some blood, but they chose not to, and I'm fine with that. I'm not advocating that they do. I'm just saying, yes, you got to see some. It's actually a compliment. You got to see some intense deaths without the gore, and I appreciate that.
I really appreciate that, and I appreciate that. To me, they're saying that the stormtroopers also need to be killed, not in a more vicious manner, but they need to be killed. Like the stormtrooper dying. There's something about it, because these are the worst of the worst. Obviously the stormtrooper is a play on the Nazis, and so it's kind of a callback to that on some level. And they're expressing that with they're not getting shot with a blaster. They're actually, I mean, I think the worst death I can think of off the top of my head would be and this isn't a stormtrooper, but Grievous maybe, or Dooku. Dooku's is pretty pretty brutal. Grievous is pretty brutal, but those are main characters. I can't think of a stormtrooper who really suffers a horrific death. That I
I
can
mean,
think
there
of.
were several hundred of them in Episode 4, but I guess if you're on the Death Star, you don't count.
Death Star lives don't matter. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'll take that stand.
I'll take that stand. The evil empire is bad. Don't have to say it.
But being blown up again, but being blown up like Alderaan, the Alderaan thing, same thing. Big planet gets blown up. It doesn't have the effect of someone hitting you in the face with this big long staff with a pointy thing, like in your helmet shattering.
Yeah. No, they were great deaths, and that was one of the most frustrating things for me in Rebels, because it was a kids show. They were very limited on what they could show for violence. And so you might have some people that were implied that they were killed, but you saw very few deaths. Usually it was just like, oh, we knocked them out. Not like, no, we straight up murdered those evil people because we're the good guys. And I'm not saying it has to be like that all the time, but
you want the Expendables.
a little frustrating. Yeah.
Just say it. You want the listen. If you notice, we can lose an arm, but it has to be cut with a lightsaber. Therefore, the bleeding stops instantly.
Yes, which you have the whole continuity issue. But guess what? He was an Aqualish, right? Ponda Baba was an Aqualish, and that's why his wound didn't cauterize. So we'll just take care of that.
Take care of that. Yeah, let's just don't let the facts. Wrong podcast.
No.
Anyway,
it was an awesome fight scene though, with Shaolin Boba Fett coming into the mix. Right, he shows up in the armor. It's just like everything Din can do, Boba can do better. And it was a pretty awesome fight. You had Fennec doing that awesome backwards jump, and so she does that awesome thing, and then she takes her helmet off. I'm like, no, that's keeping you alive. You keep the helmet on. I know she threw it at the guy, but she never picked it back up. I'm like, no, you need a helmet on. Look at Mando. He's wearing the helmet. He's not dead. You almost died. Put your helmet on.
Mm-hmm.
That's my thought.
I agree. No, I thought the action scene was good. It was well done. I feel like this is appropriate though. Can you hear this, Kyle? Can you hear this? 3, 2, 1. Can you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
We lost a good ship. It was a battered. It was a battered ship. Had a lot of miles on it, but I really thought it would make it to the end of the season.
Yeah, I've been looking for them to destroy it since the start of the season.
I know you have, but listen, it meant a lot to me, Kyle, to see the ship go down like that. A rail gun from above the clouds just murked it.
It did, but you know what? So the Beskar spear survived, right?
Well, of course, it's Beskar.
Okay, why not make the whole ship out of Beskar? I'm just saying. Maybe that's the black box is indestructible. Make the whole airplane out of the black box. Okay, no, not that logic. Because part of the reason why the black box is indestructible is because of the way it's manufactured. And so, from what we know in canon, is Beskar is just awesome and amazing. Mm-hmm. If you could get enough of it, build a Beskar ship, and then you're invincible. You don't have to go anywhere. Have your groceries delivered via ship, and only use some Uber Eats to bring in the takeout. You never leave your ship. You could have destroyed the Death Star in just like a straight on laser fight because they never could have killed you. Like, Death Star's amazing. But the good news is Boba has a stick, Mando has a stick. He's gonna be his mentor, just like I said from when we saw Boba Fett for the first time. I was like, oh, he's gonna be the Obi-Wan to Jaren's Luke, right? So we've got that, and they both have sticks, and so it's a match.
Yeah, I agree, but I also think that the Beskar staff is more to fight Moff Gideon than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he'll need to. Also, all his guns except for the one got blown up, which is terrible, especially given I forget which episode it was in, where I think it was the second episode, maybe the third episode, where he says, "Weapons are my religion."
Mm-hmm.
That was a great line, but he just lost his religion. Do you have any REM you could queue up?
No, I don't. Sorry.
That's all right. There's probably a copyright licensing thing there.
Yeah. Yep. I thought taps might slide through. So, just so you know, anything made by the government is in the public domain for those listening. So there we go. Hopefully, taps was made by the government. The Razor Crest getting blown up. So it feels like we're setting up for Mando to take over Slave One, right? Or Mando to be killed and Boba take over, as you have hinted at before. That may be possible.
Yeah, the Mandalorian doesn't necessarily mean this Mandalorian. Mm-hmm. You know, could be any of the Mandalorian.
Darth Maul.
So, oh man, Darth Maul again. Okay, so Darth Maul.
I've got to bring Darth Maul up every episode. That's my goal in life.
I know, and I mean he was connected to Mandalore for a little while. But he's dead.
He's in charge of a crime syndicate. You never know.
And I have no problem with you bringing him up. I just want all the people clicking on the clickbait out there online from slate.com or wherever it is, being like, with people writing articles like it's legitimate journalism.
He's dead.
He's dead. I just want you to know he's dead. Go watch the last season of Rebels.
Can I play taps again for Darth Maul?
He's dead. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, he's dead. Him and Shakti both died multiple times.
If we know one thing about Obi-Wan, if he doesn't kill you the first time, you either kill him the second time or he kills you the second time. Okay?
That's right.
So, just say
he doesn't make the same mistake twice.
Except for with Grievous, which was like 30 times, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, well, he wasn't a hermit living alone on a desert planet at that point.
That's true.
You lower your standards.
That's true.
On Tatooine.
That's true.
Tatooine, come and lower your standards. I should work for the Tourism Guild.
We have no expectation of you. Come on in.
That's right. Your kind is welcome.
So where are we going next, my friend?
So let's see. Yeah, he might take over Slave One. In the EU, Boba Fett lost Slave One, and then he got a ship called Slave Two, because he took over Slave One from his father. Also, which Slave One has, in at least one place, been called like the deadliest ship in the galaxy. So I mean, it's a pretty awesome ship. But maybe we'll see Slave Two. Who knows? We'll see. What's interesting is it was named Slave One before there was a Slave Two. Like he planned on getting a second one at some point. But that's my thought. I'm just saying if I named a child of mine daughter number one, you would think like, oh, well, he's expecting another daughter. I'm not. At this point, I'm expecting a son. There's that.
Well, or the dealer's like, listen, buddy. It's the first one, but we're rolling these suckers out pretty quick. So we'll let you call this one number one. I'm not telling you. I mean, I can't promise. Don't look at the VIN number. It's not 001 on the VIN, but we'll call it Slave One, so you feel better. Don't look to the sky right now. There's something flying around, but ignore that. And so just appreciate this that we're calling it Slave One.
It was like a Twitter handle, and it's like, the one I wanted was taken. Oh, just put a 1 on the end.
Yeah, well, he was walking around like, hey, I got a ship called Slave. I'm like, what? Yeah, a ship called Slave. Like, you've enslaved your ship? Yeah, that sounds kind of weird. Slave one. Like, oh, that's awesome, man. Slave one. Yeah. I think it's something like that. Like he was at a bar one night and it got kind of weird. He's like, slave one. So he trying to prep a chick, He's got like a fleet of them. Oh, that's just slave one, I got like 30 of them things.
Maybe maybe we'll see that. Rumor is there's going to be a Boba Fett mini arc, which I think is going to be about kind of a recap Gilmore Girls year in the life style, where we just kind of see Boba Fett from Sarlacc pit to meeting Din Djarin and just kind of a brief overview, or at least when he approaches Fennec.
Have you seen the Queen's Gambit?
Which one?
The Queen's Gambit on Netflix.
I have not.
Okay. Let me just say this. It's a good show. That's, I don't know if it's the greatest thing ever, like people make it out to be, but it's good. It's really good. It's a mini series. It's like 8 shows. Boba Fett better be like that. Like, I don't need 16 seasons of Boba Fett getting out of the Sarlacc pit and not doing anything, because that's all he can do is not do anything. So if you want to do like an 8-part miniseries from Sarlacc pit to, Mando, that's fine. I do not want 3 seasons of Boba Fett because it just can't be anything.
No, I think that's what we're going to see. I think we're going to see one season that's somewhere between 7 to 10 episodes, maybe 6 to 10 episodes.
Miniseries, not a show. Well, miniseries.
Yeah, a miniseries.
Yeah, okay. I can live with that.
Like what they're talking about for Obi-Wan. They're just doing
Obi-Wan has to be miniseries.
Yeah.
Because we know...
Oh, they can't afford Ewan McGregor for longer.
So. Well, that, and they don't. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to ruin the story.
I mean, they're Disney. They can afford whatever they want. Who am I joking?
Yeah.
Let's see. So what else do we got here?
I mean, did you see the end? Do you know what happens at the end?
I do know what happens at the end. But before we get to the end, I'm very intrigued about this female officer that
you're back on that again.
Gideon has. I am back on that again because the Empire was xenophobic and misogynistic and a rather bigoted group of individuals that preferred human males to anything and everything else. And that's part of what made Phasma awesome. When we found out that there was a captain in the First Order who was female, you're like, well, she has to be the best. It's like Grand Admiral Thrawn. For Thrawn as an alien, first he had to be humanoid. He couldn't be something too different. But for him to rise to the rank they did, he had to be all the better because he was starting out at a disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing for Phasma. And so I'm wondering if I'm not saying that she's Phasma, but I'm saying I'm just curious about her. Or are we just adding some kumbaya to the Empire and making it just a more inclusive, heartwarming, family-oriented?
Well, listen, when the Empire fell, there's probably a lot of lawsuits, a lot of litigation, a lot of PR nightmares. Moff Gideon's like, listen, okay, there's no woman policy. Let me rewrite the code here for my own my little crew. We're gonna be inclusive. We're gonna be diverse. And Moff is like, Moff Gideon's like, I can't go with I love Palps. We were homeboys, but he was wrong there. Maybe there's a PR nightmare.
So he gets one woman on staff, like.
Well, I mean, we've only seen really. I think just in all seriousness, the fact that it's her over and over again leads me to believe that she is something. Because they could have random extras play that uncredited role. And is it a credited role? I don't even know. Let me look it up here.
It's not.
It's not? Okay.
At least not on the episode. Well, at least not in the credits before the music runs out.
Okay, I'm looking up our talk.
When the artwork runs out, I stop watching. I shouldn't say music, artwork.
Okay, so chapter 14, wrong episode. But the fact it's her multiple times makes me think that she's going to be someone, huh?
I think she's going to be something.
Comms officer Katie O'Brien. Is this her? Yeah, this is her, isn't it?
I can't see.
Can I send you a chat? Yeah, I'll send you a private chat here. See if this is her.
Okay. So for
Yeah.
everyone listening in, I am now going to
I'll
over a
keep
link
talking
that
while you're doing this. Yeah, I think that's her, Katie O'Brien. Her name is Katie O'Brien. Oddly enough,
It does look like her. She is known as Tom's officer in the Mandalorian. Yeah, so I'm interested. Let's see, the fact that she is an actress, martial artist, and figure competitor from Indianapolis. Is that figure skating? I don't know what a figure competitor is.
mm,
She performed in the university's short form improvisational troupe. Who's on first? This seems like the kind of person that they would bring in for a role that will eventually be something.
yeah. I mean, so that IMDb, I agree, but I'm just saying.
Oh, she was George and Z Nation. Okay.
The my point was originally is that you could just exchange people in Imperial garb to walk in and say Moff Gideon this, Moff Gideon that, Moff Gideon this, and we wouldn't care anything about it. The fact that they've used her a couple times, I think they're trying to let you know that something's going on with her. Whatever, good, better, and different. I'm not saying she's a spy or she's a second coming. I don't know, but she's going to play a role at some point because there's no reason to bring her back, right?
Right. That's what I would think. That's what I would think.
Okay, but
well, you ready to talk about the tragedy that happened?
We did wait for
the show.
He
did lose everything in that, but he also lost his son, his makeshift son. Makeshift son is probably not the politically correct way to describe a child.
It's a little aggressive.
But these Dark Troopers, are they at all human? They very much have robotic legs and arms. Are they like Darth Vader, where it's just torso and head that's human? Or are they completely robotic? And if they are simply droids, why are they called troopers? So I'm a little confused. And also the styling of them, the way the helmet is, I think there's at least some part of a person inside that thing.
Okay, several things here. First off, I took that to be that Tony Stark had sold Moff Gideon some Iron Man suits, and he kind of modified them, kind of like Ultron. That's what we had there, a bunch of Ultrons going down.
So how well that turned out.
Yeah, well, right. If that's not the case, I don't think, if you go back to the most recent Rebels, not Rebels, Clone Wars, where they're talking to Fives over the communication, they had like the master brain thing. And so there is something about, at least in Star Wars canon, where you could have a hive mind, kind of like the Borg mentality, that's controlling the droids. So you could have something like that going on there as well, that these are really mechanical beings, but they're being controlled by some sophisticated brain, whatever. I can't remember what it was in Clone Wars, but you know what I'm talking about in the recent ones.
You could, but I'm just saying torso and head looks like a person, especially with the fact that they have that standard Imperial helmet, right? All the stormtroopers, your basic stormtroopers, your basic Imperial pilots, they have a very distinct helmet. And when you see the droids, normally, even the battle droids, they don't have that kind of head to them because it's not a very useful head. That kind of bucket head doesn't give them any benefits.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the pictures here still online. I don't know. I'm reluctant, but the hands don't look realistic and the arms don't look realistic.
No, that's what I'm saying. The arms and the legs are definitely robotic. So are these like miniature Darth Vaders where they have taken people and sliced off or burned off or somethinged off their arms and legs and made them into super soldiers? Is this the was it the Suicide Squad of Star Wars, except without any redeeming qualities?
I don't know. Looking at the picture, I just think they're robots. I don't know. If Tony Stark did sell them the hardware, I think they're robots.
And they might just be droids, but if they are just droids, why call them troopers? Why not call them droids?
Well, you have to, from my perspective, the droid and the trooper are interchangeable. So if you
How
go
so?
back to Clone Wars, both the droid and the trooper are just interchangeable cannon fodder. The droid for the Trade Federation and Grievous and all those guys, and the clone troopers for the Jedi. You know, they're just cannon fodder is all they are. So I'm not necessarily sure I would ascribe, you know, Moff Gideon as having, because this is Moff Gideon's crew. It's not the Empire's crew, right?
But it's for the Empire, right? Doesn't he at one point say something along the lines of the Empire forever? I'd have to go rewatch
Well, yeah,
the
but
end of season one.
I think, and
Long
I
live the Empire, something
I
like
never
that.
finished the Aftermath series. I need to go back and do that, but they weren't that good. But anyways, um, my understanding is after 6, the Moffs are fighting over supremacy of who's going to rule the Empire, and
Mhm.
so if you take that, I don't know how the series ended and where this plays in with that. I don't know, but if you just without knowing that piece of canon history, it's possible that the Moff's just one of the factions that he's fighting, and yes, he wants to be the leader of the Empire, but he's not in control of the Empire.
No, he's not in control. I just find it unusual to call something a trooper if it is purely a droid. I just find that unusual. So I'm just saying I have questions there.
You might be right. You might be right.
Yeah.
Oh, are you thinking that Grogu is being used to feed these blood
Yes.
transfusions to these troopers?
So in one of the EU stories, I know I keep going back to it. I'm sorry, but in a different story, there's a character who uses spice to enhance her senses, and actually she fights with a lightsaber pretty darn well. And she's using performance enhancing drugs to do what a lot of Jedi's do. And I know it's boring, and I apologize for everyone listening in. Ryan yawned, and
Oh,
it's okay. My parents, my kids, my spouse, they all do this to me when I speak about things. Um, Ryan's just another in a long line of people I've disappointed and let down. But not you, dear listener. I don't want to let you down. So people can use performance enhancing drugs, and I'm wondering if they're basically doping with Grogu's blood for these super soldiers. So that's what I'm thinking there. Now I can't see Ryan on the live stream. I called him out, and I apologize. I'm sorry, Ryan. I found it amusing.
no, sorry, I just yawn a lot and make all kinds of
It,
other noises and stuff.
it's all good.
I'm still, because I'm hard headed and stubborn, and I have literally nothing to lose with being wrong. I'm still going with this as an early Palpatine Snoke trial run cloning process. I'm gonna go with that. So because I have
Okay.
not a dollar to lose on this, and you know, for the millions of listeners that will be disappointed, I'm sorry, but I think that's what I'm gonna go there. This is the early.
You think it's Snoke and Palps? I think it's doping for super soldiers.
Yes,
We could both be wrong.
we both are wrong, but yes.
Indubitably. So one thing that annoyed me a little bit was this trope of you did something, or I wanted you to do X, you didn't do X, but I still got the result of X. So I'm going to hold up my end of the bargain, even though we didn't actually have an agreement. We see that in other movies and TV shows, just in our viewing history. And that's what happened here. Boba Fett said, "Hey, Mandalorian, give me my armor back and I will help you." And the Mandalorian said, "I don't know if I can trust you." And then Boba Fett helped him and got his armor back. And Mandalorian's like, "Okay, well, I guess we're done here." And then Boba Fett's like, "Nope, I've got to hold up my end of the bargain." I'm like, nobody shook on it. Nobody agreed to anything. He didn't take him up on his offer. Boba Fett could have walked away clean here, but he's offering to go save this child. And that's clearly just to move the story along and to give Din some help in his take on the Empire, or at least Moff Gideon's section of the Empire story. And then also, we get Mayfield. Why bring Mayfield in? because he's ex-Empire. Emphasis
I
on
didn't
the X
understand that. I
there.
didn't understand that either.
He's
It
not
felt
going
like,
to be happy to see you.
yeah.
You're the one who got him arrested. You killed or got the rest of his team arrested. And now you're going to get on the New Republic's bad side when they just let you out of a jam because
Right.
you did something good by delivering him to them.
It felt like that was like a mix between Guardians of the Galaxy and like the Avengers assembling type thing. Like I didn't understand at the end because Cara Dune is kind of like, well, I'm legitimate, which you talked about last week. She got the thing. It looks like she kept it, so she's kind of legitimate. But now she's going to bail on that already. Is what I think. I don't think she's really going to hold to that. So whatever legitimacy she had lasted a couple episodes. Good for her. Yay. She's going to get killed, I think. She's gonna show her for leaving legitimate lifestyle. They're gonna kill her off. But going back and getting that guy, I didn't understand that. On the Boba Fett thing, let me say that. So yes, it is the advanced story. I agree. However, I think Boba was legitimately surprised that the Empire was back, which surprised me that he was surprised. Because was he surprised that they were in the Outer Rim, or was he surprised they were back? Period. Because you pointed out about what she says about being in the Outer Rim. What was the surprise there?
I think that they were back, period. I think he had Slave One, but I don't think he's left Tatooine. I think he'd been on Tatooine that whole time.
But
he's got some splaining to do.
Yeah, but so Tatooine hadn't had any Imperial visits?
I don't think so, because even Cobb Vanth was like, as soon as the Empire was out, the Mining Guild was in.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah,
we never saw any Empire. And he went to Mos Eisley. If the Empire was going to go anywhere, it'd be Mos Eisley, I would think.
Yeah, that's true. No. I think you're right. So he probably just has been in the desert and, brain's been cooking and getting that Obi-Wan treatment and missed out. So I think now, from his perspective, though, why does he hate the Empire?
He shouldn't. They paid him money.
Yeah. I mean,
he had nothing against them.
I mean, ultimately,
Oh, man. But what a twist would that be if he doesn't hate the Empire? He's like, the Empire's back. I can get my job. We just think he hates the Empire, but he's about to turn the Mandalorian over to Moff. Like, he shows up with Moff Gideon. He breaks Mando in. And then right before Moff Gideon, he's like, by the way, I used to work for your boss and Darth Vader. Do you want to buy him from me? Because I will sell this guy out. I need a new ship. I only have one slave left.
You see this Beskar? It's kind of rusted and stuff. I need some legit stuff. So
I want to build a whole ship out of it.
Yes, I heard he's got a podcast talking about it. Also, where's Uber Eats? Is it nearby? I don't know what they deliver. Yeah, that would okay. First off, Favreau, Filoni, I know you listen, so please do what Kyle just said. That would actually end the season perfectly if Boba turns over Mando to the to Moff. Also, something that was we kind of skimmed over. Moff Gideon is nowhere near concerned about the Mandalorian now. He destroyed his ship.
Yeah.
And left him alive.
Yeah, he doesn't care about him. He only wants to show. Even the trooper's like, we don't care about you, Fennec. We're here for the child.
No, I know.
We don't care about the person actively shooting at them.
But
that's the person I care about the most.
Exactly, me too. No, I'm saying he didn't even there's no threat of Moff Gideon is so insulated that there's no way that the Mandalorian can penetrate his defenses and come and get him, despite the fact that they took down one of their ships earlier in the season. And that's just an interesting tidbit that he tracked his ship. Obviously, he wanted the child, but once he gets the child, it's not even relevant for him to kill him. Whatever. You killed a couple of things, the stormtroopers, whatever. How about the stormtrooper sucking tail? We didn't even talk about that. Oh my gosh, that was hilarious. And when Boba shot the rocket and it hit the wrong ship, I was like, oh my gosh, they just screwed up.
That's what I was hoping for. When he shot, I was like, he needs to shoot the one above so that it falls down and hits.
Yeah,
and take them both out.
I was like, oh, they screwed that up. Wow, that's a major gaffe. And then he's like, no, I shot the wrong one. I was like, oh, yes. That was awesome. But anyways, I'm sorry. Let's get back to the end. I know we're getting
that was a fantastic scene because they were just like, turn around, retreat, go back, run away. It was Monty Python, right? Run away.
Right. Yes, exactly.
That was me using my hands instead of coconuts for anybody listening in. Again, I apologize for all the sound effects that I have made this episode.
Mainly Ryan talking, but other than that,
mainly this one.
Yeah. The other funny thing I thought was Yoda just deboing them dudes at the end. That was awesome.
Okay, that was dark. It was funny. And like, I get it, but it long proves a theory that I've had. If babies came out of the womb speaking, they would only use curse words. Right? And so now we have gotten to see not just a force sensitive, but a force user, toddler level, who has the same power that Luke had in Empire Strikes Back, if not stronger than him. Right. And he's just like, no, let me out of my room. Whack, whack, whack. Just throw these guys around, choke them, drop them to the ground. I'm surprised that they weren't dead sooner. If they did even die at the end.
They didn't die. They wish they would have died.
Well, he dropped them and then they just stayed down because two new troopers came in. Did we? Oh, okay. Well, then I missed it. I missed them getting up. I assumed that they weren't dead, but we didn't really. I didn't see them get up.
Well, you know what? I actually have it right here. You can continue to talk and I'll look at it, but I'm almost positive they got up there at the end.
Okay.
Well, what do you think?
Something about
that. Okay, hold on. I'll mute this so we don't get some kind of copyright deal here. Let's just mute this.
Okay, Ryan's going to give us the play-by-play while he watches.
No.
So this is how you want to listen to it. You don't want to use the assistive audio that comes with the show produced by a multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah, they're getting up.
They get up. Ryan Ray.
Yeah,
they get up?
They get up. Yeah.
Okay. The tape has been reviewed. The ref calls it.
Film out. They got up.
The troopers get up. Okay, my mistake.
You're watching your phone, you said, so maybe the shot was a little bit tighter.
Maybe. I did. I watched, due to some family stuff going on this weekend, I did not get to watch this on a TV of any sort. I watched this on my phone that's a couple years old.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was still good.
Yeah, so they get up. But they played this, tropes. One of the tropes they played is that Baby Yoda, Grogu, gets tired after using the Force. That feels like that's a trope that's going to be played until it's reversed, right? So like he's going to use the Force a bunch. He's going to get tired in the epic battle. He's going to fall over. And then next thing you know, someone's about to die. And you just see that dude back there just Force choking the dog snot out of someone. And he's like hovering and he's bringing down ships and firing, like lightning out of his eyes. And his ears are sitting out, photon torpedoes. Like, I feel like that's where this is heading.
I do think it's going to be used. I do think it will be at a pivotal moment where he will be too tired to continue on. And there is evidence to support, or history or lore to support that using the Force does wear somebody out, especially somebody who's not really trained. But
it killed Luke Skywalker, Kyle.
He's 50 years old. It did kill Luke. Or did Luke give himself
No,
up?
it killed Luke.
Was he a savior figure? We're not talking about that right now. but it does there is some evidence for that. But I do think that we will see some progression to where it doesn't wear him out as much, and that we will see that progression. But I do think you're right. I think it will be part of a pivotal role where he's too tired, and then he comes back and he's not too tired, and he saves the day.
Yeah, it has to be. It has to be. So, we got 2 episodes. Oh, I'm sorry. Anything else?
Yeah, I got 2 more little things. Moff Gideon acts like he knows Grogu some. The way he's talking to him, there's a little bit of familiarity in that
Yeah,
scene.
I think so.
And so I'm wondering if the people who had Grogu in the first episode had defected from Moff Gideon's army and were hiding him away. And that's how they knew where he was. But they had been unsuccessful in sending stormtroopers there. And so I'm just wondering, somebody took Grogu from Coruscant. The assumption would be to protect him. It's possible that is not the case. I'm thinking that at some point,
the major can open here. On the episode where they go to the Empire, the Imperial base, they've had Grogu before.
Well, so that could be referencing episode 3, I think, where he returns the child to Navarro and we see the scientist performing an experiment on Grogu. That may be the blood drawing that they're talking about on the base in Navarro. So that could be referencing something sooner. I'm thinking something before then, where
I mean,
got to interact with him directly.
I presume, based upon that, maybe you're right. I don't know about that. I presume, based upon that Imperial deal, that they had the child for a while, and they've been running these tests, and that's why they were after him. They'd lost him somehow, and the scientist is like, listen, we've stretched it as far as we can, and we got to go get him. We can't keep doing it. But you're thinking that hologram was in references to episode 3 of season 1.
Yes, that is. I think it's in reference to chapter 3, and which I saw something earlier this week that was like, are the episodes of The Mandalorian called chapters because the movies are called episodes? And I was like, so chapter 3. That way we also don't have to be like season 2, chapter 3, season 2, episode 3, season 1, episode 3, whatever. Chapter 3, right? They all got their names. So I think it was chapter 3 where they did that experiment. He did get something out of him because the kid was asleep, and Mando was like, "What'd you do to him?" And so I think that's what that's referencing. But I think that there was a time before that Moff Gideon had some experience with Grogu.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think
that's my thoughts there.
Okay, I do it like 3 because I didn't. When that happened on Navarro, I took that to mean that they'd had the child for some time. In this dark period that Ahsoka talks about, he's being tortured, and so he's part of that is he's just blacking out.
I think that makes sense. I think that does make sense. So I'm not convinced that the person who took him from Coruscant did so for good reasons.
Also, I believe that we're going to find out this isn't the only Force user. So Moff Gideon might have a plethora of experience with young Force users who exhibit the Force pretty robustly, and then they're like, okay, it's time for bed, because they're children.
Yeah, that's very true. He may have, and this child might be the strongest of them, which is why they want him and not the other ones.
Right.
Yeah, he's their favorite toy.
Or they're or the other ones are inside the Dark Trooper suits. So it's literally kids in there.
See, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking. Like, there could be some biological component to these Dark Troopers.
It's like the Broom Kid. He's just I can go with that.
Yeah, except like, did you ever see that Oblongs cartoon with Will Ferrell? Kind of like that.
Whatever that is.
Okay. Grogu, right? When he sees the Darksaber, which it's a really cool lightsaber. It does not translate well to live action, the effect of it. I got to see one in the store the other day, and it looks cool. But I was like, this toy looks cooler than the one on TV. Yeah. But like, it just did not translate well from animation to live action, in my opinion. But he tries to touch the lightsaber. I'm like, who are you, Luke Skywalker? You're gonna kill yourself, kid. I say that because in episode 4, Luke like points it right at his face. He's like, "What's this do?" And it's like, "Don't turn it on."
Puts a hole in your head.
Yes. He turns it on and roll credits. So
bum 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 bum. It's just like that.
And the Empire won everything. So that's all the notes I've got. Mostly questions, not too many complaints, a lot of compliments. Overall, I think it was good. But I do have lots of questions. I'm not sure how many they're going to answer.
Yeah, Favreau and Filoni just hit us up offline in the DMs.
Yeah.
I'll say this. I was really hoping that this episode would be a setup episode, and it was. And when I say, it wasn't a random, we're going to go off and chase frog eggs. We're going to go off and do this. This episode got us to a 2-part season finale. I don't know if they're actually calling it that or not, but that's more or less what it is now. So now if they take the next to last episode and it's just a complete, like, we're going around the galaxy to pick up the crew, I might lose my mind. But I'm going to assume they're not going to do that. I'm going to assume
you might lose your mind. Well, they're not going to go. They're probably not going to go around the galaxy. I think the whole episode will be them breaking him out of the fields. So it sounds like he's prison labor. That sounds like what Mayfield is. He's in a prison camp, doing hard labor for his crimes. And I think the next episode is going to be breaking him out.
I don't need to see that. Just show him like running to the ship and getting on, and them tuck and tail and running. Like I don't need to see the 47 minutes of them breaking him out of jail. I need a 2-part episode for the Galactic Heavyweight Championship of the world. That's what I need. I need Gideon. I need Mando. I need lasers, laser swords, blasters, dark troopers, light troopers, bombs, explosions, Palpatine, Luke Skywalker. I need it all. Why are you ruining this for me? Why?
Because I'm sorry, you're not going to get it.
I know it's not going to happen, Kyle. I know. Okay.
I'm a realist. That's why I love Star Wars.
They're going to spend 47 minutes breaking this dude out of jail. I know. Trust me. I know. I'm just hoping that they don't.
Because they also have to explain why now the New Republic is after the Mandalorian. Because I think that we're going to see in season 3, we're going to see the New Republic take a more active role of
they've been
doing the Mandalorian.
Well, they did say, I heard someone today said that the show's planned for 4 seasons. Have you heard that?
Like right now is for 4 seasons, or they're planning on ending it after 4 seasons? Because if they're planning on ending it after 4 seasons, I don't know.
You don't know.
I don't buy it.
I think that'd be pretty smart. I think the biggest problem with TV is you don't have an end date and you just keep running these, like going back to the Queen's Gambit. The good thing about the Queen's Gambit was it has an ending point. Like if they want to do a sequel, you'd be like, no. People would watch it because it was so popular, but it wouldn't work. It's like Stranger Things. Stranger Things after season 1 really isn't that good. It's okay. Season 1 is fantastic because season 1 was they expected the show to not be renewed. And so they made a 10, 12, whatever it is, part series. And that was going to be it. And that's why it's so fantastic. The rest is like, each season gets progressively worse. And hopefully this season can redeem it somewhat. I think with this show, you have to go in knowing what you're trying to do, where you're starting and where you're ending. And if you're saying, the Western thing is okay, but I don't think the Western thing really works because I don't think people care enough on a weekly adventure to see Baby Yoda eat frog eggs, and then next week, this isn't the 1950s. You have to be going somewhere, and I don't care if it's tied into the main line necessarily, but they have to be going somewhere. And if they're not going anywhere, then so let me ask you this: how can you deviate from the father-son thing that we have set up now, right? That feels like that's where we're going. This ultimate point of father and son. If you kill off Mando this season, that's fine, but it's a new show starting next year.
Yeah, no, I thought this was going to be 6, probably 7 or 8 seasons. That's what I had in mind. That this would be a 7 or 8 seasons.
A money squeeze. No story arc, right?
Yeah. Mostly because of money. That hey, it went well, so we're going to keep doing it. I think that we're going to see a Force user come in at the end of this episode, or end of this season, I mean. Or possibly, if we get what we want and Boba Fett turns on Mandalorian and joins the new Empire.
That'd be so good.
Then it's going to be season 3 before we see a Force user. And I am 100% okay with that. And whether it's Cal from the video game, bringing him into live action, or Ezra from Rebels and bringing him into live action, or if it's somebody brand new I don't think it's going to be Luke. I don't think it's going to be Mace Windu. Though Mace Windu against Boba Fett over the death of Jango at this point, one-handed Mace versus old man Boba.
That's tasty.
It'd be pretty cool.
That's it. Okay. Boba is going to help out Mando. And then Mace Windu flies in like on his purple lightsaber ship, like on a broom. And he lands and he's like, "You look really familiar. You're like you got a scar, your face you look kind of fatter than I seen last time. But other than that, your voice, I've heard that."
Boba would recognize him instantly. I mean, that's the guy he saw murder his father. He would
right. No. I'm talking about Mace's perspective. Mace is like,
yeah,
I know this. Like I've seen this somewhere before. It has to do with the head. It's right on top of the head. Like, and Mace is really struggling. Boba, in the meantime, is like, you know what? This is the guy that's going to help you. I was going to help you, but guess what? Now I'm calling him off. So he gets out his cell phone. He texts Moff Gideon. He's like, hey, these guys are coming. It's a whole thing. And then Boba turns because Mace came to help him. That would be good Star Wars.
But then they've got to resolve Boba versus Mace before the Mandalorian gets turned over to Moff Gideon. I think that it's more likely for Boba to turn over. Also, right, this is not happening.
No, this is happening. No, this is pure Ryan and Kyle just dreaming here. This is what
right. So I'm thinking.
This is why books are better than movies, because in books this could happen. In a book, this absolutely could happen.
So I'm thinking Boba Fett turns the Mandalorian over to Moff Gideon to get in the good graces and get his old life back as the top bounty hunter, and he can claim all the rewards from Mando and the child and whatever, but and the rewards not necessarily monetarily, right? But he gets that, and then the Force user, let's call him Mace Windu, comes in to rescue the child, ends up rescuing Mando to get to the child because he's like, oh, this is the guy that was taking care of him. I need to rescue him first for whatever reason. Pick a MacGuffin. They go to rescue the child. Boba Fett is standing there to stop the Mandalorian, and he's like, I'm not going to let you take him. And then Mace Windu comes around the corner. He's like, your dad couldn't stop me or something.
Say what again?
Yeah, and then they go at it. Mando saves the child, or he goes up against Moff Gideon, Beskar against Darksaber.
That's got to happen.
They go at it.
Yeah.
Mace ends up killing Boba Fett. Yeah, Mace, and it might even be mutually assured destruction, right? They could kill each other. Once we see the battle, it doesn't matter.
Yes.
But whether Mando kills Moff, that's up in the air. He may or may not. He may just get the upper hand of him. If he could take the Darksaber, okay, he gets the Darksaber away from Moff, gets the child, he jets out of there, figuratively or literally. And then the season is about him getting the Darksaber to Bo-Katan.
Yeah, it feels like the next season, I think. So I think we're going to wrap up the Moff Gideon thing this season. I think the next season is about Mandalorian culture, reestablishing that with the Darksaber, who's in charge, what does it really mean? Because they've touched on that a little bit, like how much is he really attached to this? And so I think that's the next season. The child, obviously, Grogu is going to be a part of that. I don't know how he factors in, but I think that's
much as I want to see Grogu in Mandalorian armor with the Darksaber.
Oh my gracious! I'd pay money for that.
Yeah,
I would pay.
I don't think it's going to happen in the next 400 years.
No, not at least. So, but okay, because I literally have nothing to lose. My second, I literally have nothing to lose prediction. Mace Windu comes back and he cuts Boba Fett's head off.
Mm-hmm.
That's my official. I need to start putting this up for a little thing. Ryan's I have nothing to lose prediction. Boba Fett is going to get his head cut off by Mace Windu.
You should stay tuned on the Outpost 23 YouTube channel for Ryan's You Have Nothing to Lose predictions. Ryan has nothing to lose predictions.
Yeah, I have literally nothing to lose other than the time you say that.
Let me counter it with Boba Fett cuts Mace Windu's head off. Mando yells no and shoots Boba Fett.
I need him. I need him.
Referencing both episode 4, where Luke sees Obi-Wan get killed. Also referencing episode 3, where Vader yells no after becoming something he doesn't want to. And then also referencing episode 6, where Vader has to turn on his master. And so now Mace is dead cleanly. Boba Fett's dead cleanly. Mando has nothing tying him there and nothing to lose. He takes the Darksaber and the kid, and he goes. Oh,
this is why you're on the Jedi Council as a full rank of master, and they let me serve you guys potato chips because that is beautiful. I wish my no lose prediction would have been that. It's not. That is yours. I'm gonna stick with mine because I can't take yours. It's yours. Because if I did take yours, you would have lost something. So I'm not gonna do it to you.
I'm still losing either way, but it's all good. I don't think they're going to take. You know what? If anybody on Lucasfilm would like to steal my idea, please do.
But okay. I'm saying if I stole it, you'd have lost it. If nothing else, and if you know,
okay,
I'm not that kind of friend.
It's all good. You're a lovely, lovely friend. Love it.
If you see that,
I think that's everything I had.
Yeah, I don't have anything else. It was
yeah.
God, they spend the next episode breaking out of prison. I'm going to be hacked. I'm just telling you.
All right. I am looking forward to you being hacked next week. And I'm also looking forward to everybody watching and listening in. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yes.
Please tune in to the Outpost 23 YouTube channel.
Outpost23.net just got a webpage up and rolling. It's still like Baby Yoda.
I love it.
There's things that are coming out, and it gets tired really easy, but it's in the infancy stages. But we're rolling it out. There are posts. There are things up there.
I love it.
It's .net. We couldn't afford the .com. We're low budget here. .net.
All good.
The numbers don't spell out. So outpost23.net.
Outpost23.net. Ryan Ray, warroommedia.com. I'm Kyle Souza. There's other Kyle Souzas out there that are way more popular than me.
Only one
all of that. Thank you. It's fun. I actually got trained at Taco Cabana by one guy named Kyle De Souza.
Oh.
And I was just like, this is weird. But yeah. Also, my blog is thetalkinggeek.com. And it's been a pleasure. Thanks for listening to us talk. Yeah.
If you've enjoyed this 5-star rating in iTunes, if you've hated it, we can't take criticism very well. So a 5-star rating in iTunes as well. So whatever you feel about it, if you're going to spend the energy, you can roast us if you want to write something out, but it has to be 5 stars. We can't take the 1, 2, or 3-star, 4-star. It has to be 5 stars. So
I just want to say I'm much more likely to respond to a 5-star rating than a 1-star rating. The
last person that gave me a 1-star rating, we read it on Intrigue Podcast, and we made fun of and laughed at that person. So that's probably and we were being dead serious. So
you can't tell people you're going to make fun of them. That will make them do the thing. Now they want to see how good you are at making fun of people. We can't. Okay.
I mean, we mocked them as if they were insignificant.
No, I feel
like if you leave a 5-star and you roast us, bro, that's what we're here for.
I'm up for it.
We're game for that. If you need to these guys are 5 stars. These guys are stupid. This guy can't speak. This guy can't talk. His white gun isn't even a real model because he doesn't know the difference between a blaster and a stormtrooper. Please. We're here for that. What?
No, it's good. I love it. You're writing a roast of us for somebody else to post. I'm just looking forward to seeing how quickly it gets up there.
For the millions and millions of listeners, please get it up there quickly.
Yes. Thank you all. Have a great night. May the Force be with you.